Season 9 has arrived. And the last time I put up a video was 10 months ago. Oh lord, I think we're long overdue. So we're going to be checking out how Blade has changed since the season I uploaded, which was Season 3. And we're going to be talking about his team-ups, his changes in his abilities, what team-up abilities to use, and just Season 9 in general, with it being out for a couple of weeks. Hopefully, I can give you an insight on the best way to enjoy Blade. Now, like I've always said, and I said it in the previous one, this is to enjoy Blade. Okay, firstly, Blade's gun, it acts like a shotgun. So you want to be between 10 to 15 meters at a maximum of 20 meters away when you are shooting your gun. So personally, I like to use this for range. It's kind of the only range he has unless you use the Moon Knight team up. But his gun can be effective, so don't underutilize it. On top of this, if you do dash with his gun, it does create a bit of push, and it is a lot further than most of you might think. So don't be afraid to use this. It is difficult to pull off, but I will say that his dash into his gun can be effective to create a bit of space if you need it. Now, with his team-ups, I have a personal preference. I want to make that very clear. A personal preference depending on what you have. So to start off with the Moon Knight team-up, we obviously get the Moonlight Blade, which is really awesome. You can use it at range and it ricochets off people like it's an Ankh, which is awesome. And I will say with the upgrade, you also get like a ricochet if you're in your bloodline state and you're using your Beyblade, Spinaroonie, dash, all that good stuff. And it is a great one to use. And personally, I use this even when I don't have a Moon Knight as well. Now, the Cap team up. I love the Cap team up. And personally, I find it the best team up when you have a Cap on your team. So if you're planning on playing Blade and you see a Cap that is on your team, I would suggest changing your team up ability so you get the boost from him. Now, when you activate your Bloodline Awakening, you go from a maximum of 10 to 12, and it is incredible. You move so fast, it is very difficult to hit you, and overall, if I had to pick the best team up ability when it is enhanced, it is the Cap ability. However, if you do not get a Cap, I would highly suggest, again, personal preference, highly suggest you get the Moon Knight team up if you have neither of those characters. And the reason behind this is purely the fact that Blade does not have the greatest range attacks, and with Moon Knight, when you have neither of those two characters to enhance your team ups, Moon Knight's team up gives you that little bit of range, lets you do a bit of damage, and you can stock up on getting hits, charging your ult, and then hopefully closing the distance that little bit better. Now, there's one thing that I've saved specifically for this part of the video, and that is Blade's block. Now, Blade's block is a very small window, and you do need to work on getting the timing down perfectly, but I will say that there is a huge, and I mean huge, number of ults that you can block that would usually do quite a bit of damage or just completely immobilize Blade. So let's get into it. So with Blade's block, it is all about timing. Now when it comes to timing, you've also got to consider the ult that you are trying to block. So for example, if we were to list off Jeff, which is an ult that you can definitely block and carry on with your Bloodline Awakening at level 10 and going really fast, you need to know when to pop it off. Now, Jeff is always an interesting ult because it is all based on the player's timing that is trying to use the Jeff ult. So as you can see, I'm going to show you here that it is really important that when you apply the block, you do it at just the perfect time. Now, obviously, what I've done is I've compiled some ults here that you can block. Yes, you are obviously still going to take some damage here, but you are going to take significantly less damage. To highlight this, Venom and Strange, usually with Venom, you would get anti-heal and all this good stuff against you, but in this case, he only takes around 40 damage and you don't get anti-heal. On top of this, with the Strange ult, normally you get pushed outside of your body and you can't do anything for a few seconds, but with the block, if timed right, you can still move around, protect your team, especially the healers, because that is an important job, and you'll be able to do whatever you need to do. So please, please, please watch through as you see a few of the ults that you can definitely block. I try to pick some that hopefully you guys will appreciate and see and understand that actually you can use the block if you're in a bit of a situation or you're a bit stuck. And hopefully this helps you out. There's probably more ults that you can block as well, but I put in some of the ones that I know people will appreciate being in here. So feel free to check them out, enjoy them, especially the ones that imply stun. So you've got the likes of Thor, Venom, Strange, Thing, stuff like that are in there. But feel free to watch them and enjoy them, because the blocks do happen and they're very good when they do get pulled off. And more importantly, you will hear a very specific sound. So it's very easy to know when you haven't applied the block perfectly. So feel free to practice it and see how it goes. But that is pretty much his block in a nutshell. Just please remember, you will take a little bit of damage still, so don't think you're completely invincible. Quick disclaimer as well, there was a couple of ults that I have personally tried to block in games before that cannot be blocked, and that includes the likes of Iron Man, Scarlet, Emma, and probably a small amount of more ults as well. I only recently found out that we could block the Cyclops ult, but definitely do not, and I cannot repeat this enough, do not try this against an Iron Man ult or a Scarlet ult especially, because they will still just one-shot you. And with that said, why don't we now get into some of Blade's counters? And there is a lot, but personally, I'm going to look at maybe the top 3 that I don't like to see as a Blade player. So, coming in at number 3, we have none other than Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. He was the obvious pick. He's obviously one of the best anti characters that any character really is always limited by. But I will say he's only number 3 for me purely because when it comes to Thing players, if they know how to stop you, they are a problem. If they don't understand how to stop you, you can do quite a lot of damage and your movement can keep him away from his big haymakers and his running ability, and you can still dash away before that happens. But I will say, seeing an Officer Grimm on the other team sometimes does scare me a little bit. On the list is going to be Elsa Bloodstone. She again is a great immobilize and anti-dive DPS, and a lot of people have been playing her recently with all the changes, and especially her updating her abilities, and with the Dino team up getting 2 of those traps, she's become a big problem. And with her again limiting the amount of movement Blade can have, considering he can't move much as it is without his dashes, it's a big problem. And for me personally, Elsa has always been a little bit of a problem, especially with her being a combo character. You can't really pop anything off, especially coming up against those players that understand Elsa's combos and where to place her traps and how to stop you from basically becoming a Beyblade and doing as much damage as possible. But again, personal preference, can't stress it enough, because as well, on top of this, if you come up against an Elsa that doesn't understand how to trap you, you are going to have the time of your life and probably put that Elsa Bloodstone out pretty fast. Now, for the top spot, in my opinion, of the counters, there was 2, and I couldn't really decide between which, so I ended up choosing both. It is going to be none other than Magik, who we'll talk about in a second, and Emma as well. So with Magik, the problem I have with Magik is the amount of movement in comparison that she gets is sometimes a huge problem. And when I come up against really good Magik players, I cannot touch them. I cannot do enough damage in a short space of time. They can move away from me. They can stop me from doing dashes with their uppercut and all this good stuff. And they are a serious problem. And Magik has always been a thorn in my side. And when I see one, I'm always debating whether I'm going to get one of those really, really awesome Magiks who they're becoming more and more frequent. It's scary stuff. Or I'm coming up against a Magik that doesn't quite understand how to use her kit fully yet, or maybe hasn't got the combos locked down, so I can put up at least a little bit of a fight. Then we have Emma, the immobilizing short range tank that can grab me by the throat and slam me on the ground. She's a problem. She's a big problem. And obviously when it comes to her limiting my movement, or Blade's movement in general, we're looking at that grab in her diamond form. We're looking at that kick, because I can't push away from it. Now, you can use your block to block her kick coming out of her choke, which is great, except the fact that everyone will be aiming at you when she grabs you ready for that choke slam. She's a big problem, and for me, she's one of the top problems that I have. I don't even consider Iron Man, Spider-Man, Human Torch, Ultron, all these people, I do not consider them a problem, purely because I see them as just a challenge to try and reach them, because once you reach them, you can ground them, which is really cool. But Emma, for me, she just, again, like the thing, can just stop you completely in your motion. Blade is very much like an actual Beyblade. Once you get going, it's very hard to stop. But if you are stopped, there's no movement there whatsoever, and you're very limited. And if you can't get away, you might as well say bye-bye to your health. So, Emma, Magic, you guys reach the top of my list for the best counters, in my opinion. Again, it is personal preference, but Emma, especially with her choke slam, her kicks, and even her ult, you can't block her ult with Blade's block either. It's very hard to get away from. Yes, you can hide around the corner, but then you'll lose your bloodline state, which is very annoying, and I think it's one of the most important things, especially as a Blade main. But like I said, personal preference, Emma, Magic, you guys are my biggest problem. That's pretty much it. That's Season 9 Blade in a nutshell. And again, I'm having loads of fun with him. I've always had fun playing Blade. And I'm currently doing a Blade to Champion over on my Twitch. So feel free to come and check that out when I do hit that go live button. We do also upload nearly daily TikToks of me playing Blade as well. And it has been such a fun journey and a fun ride. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. It has meant a lot that you have sat back, watched, and hopefully took some pointers or some advice from this video. And, you know, if anything has helped you, I would love to know. And hopefully I'll see some more Blade players out there and we can have a 1v1 and see what happens. So I've been Variant RJ. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.